Can we discuss Gilmore Girls for a second? Gilmore Girls is one of those shows that I have heard the name a million times, particularly during my childhood, because it's not a show that's still on now, but I would always hear about it, always see commercials or reruns. Did they have reruns for it? But I never actually watched an episode. Well, I just came back to Miami from Europe, and during this 9-hour flight, turns out they had the entire first season of Gilmore Girls available on the plane. There's only so many things you can do on a 9-hour flight. Between that and the woman next to me, who is definitely somebody's grandma, watching Gilmore Girls as well, and Gilmore Girls getting a random shout out at this year's Eurovision, I thought, this feels serendipitous. The universe wants me to watch Gilmore Girls. It's time to watch the pilot of Gilmore Girls. So I watched the 45-minute episode, and I have to say that is 45 minutes I'll never get back. You might be thinking, well, you would have been sitting on the plane anyway. True, but that's not the point. I really wanted to like the pilot episode of Gilmore Girls because this show has such a cult following. Let me start with the positive. I enjoy an early 2000s theme song to a TV show, especially when sung by Carole King. I love Carole King. But the whole episode to me felt very cliche, but cliche like it's trying to be hip and different and quirky, but really just still being cliche. Like that meme, of I'm not like other girls. That's how I feel about Gilmore Girls. It's about a single mom who's 30-something, because of course in the early 2000s, for someone to be a single mom, they still had to be very sexy and youthful. So it's about this single mom who had her daughter at 16, and now they live in Connecticut. And of course, there's a strained relationship with the filthy rich grandparents. And of course, there's an insanely attractive loner type at the school. Of course, there's a random man in the town that I'm sure will turn into a love affair with the mom. And then there's Melissa McCarthy playing the kooky, quirky best friend. By the way, the word quirky comes up a lot. I feel like every character is supposed to be a quirky version. And I'm not like other single moms. I'm not like other single mom daughters. I'm not like other sidekicks on a TV show. I will say I enjoyed the chemistry between the two lead actresses, their two characters. By the way, beautiful women. The one who plays the mom in particular, I was like stunned by her beauty, but it just felt very try-hard to me, this show. There were a few random moments in the dialogue that I was like, that was kind of witty. At one point, the mom says to the daughter, I'll let you go Menendez on me in the car on the way back, which, you have to understand what those references mean. Menendez, referring to the famous murder. So like certain things in the dialogue were cheeky and witty, but overall it felt very like we really want to be this unique family dynamic TV show. Of course, the mom has a coffee addiction. Of course, she has a difficult relationship with her parents. Of course, there's this weird plot twist where she needs to develop the relationship with her parents because they need to get the daughter into private school. Of course, there's a pretentious Frenchman who works at the hotel with her who has a diabolical French accent. The show, in this sense, feels unintentionally campy to me. And I feel like campiness only works when it's intentional, right? But when it's unintentional, it's like, it's not supposed to be this way. But maybe I'm just not the target audience, right? I mean, I was watching the show thinking, I would love this if I was a teenage girl who read Chicken Soul for the Soup obsessively. But alas, I am not that girl, because I'm not like other girls. I told my friend about this who loves this show and loves all these sappy shows from the 90s and early 2000s, and she reminded me that this was a WB show. And so when I thought about that, I realized, you know what? This show was probably actually modern for its time. We're talking 20 years ago. Some of the shows they had on these channels like WB, remember Seventh Heaven? Seventh Heaven was basically pushing Christian, like Anglo-Saxon American propaganda onto millions of Americans every week. I've talked about Charmed before on this channel. I love Charmed. I still watch reruns, but I can't even watch episodes from the first season because some of the dialogue is just so cheesy. It doesn't feel modern at all, and it feels like it was written by like 80-year-olds in the 90s. Like, it just doesn't make sense, and certain things just feel so, again, unintentionally campy. So Gilmore Girls was probably ahead of the game. I mean, there couldn't have been that many shows on TV at the time about a single mom who had her kid at 16. But the irony is not lost on me that, of course, the single mom is incredibly sexy and beautiful. And of course, she's ambiguously 30-something, because they still want her to be relatable enough and like sexy enough to be a lead actress. Anyway, end of the rant. Have you ever watched this show? I'm curious what you think. Hopefully I don't get dragged for this, but I just couldn't believe that this show I've heard of a million times, I couldn't wait for the episode to be over, you guys. Like, I just thought it was so ridiculous. Let me know in the comments what you think.